Hey, this is a short and sweet tutorial on how to replace the downpipe in your M235i. This process will be similar on all N55 cars, but there may be small differences. If you have a lift, this will obviously be easier, but the installation is actually fairly easy. It all depends on how nice the last person to install the Vbands was. If they're aimed to where you can access them directly, this will be cake. If not, you might have to use some short wrenches or some other tomfoolery, but nothing major. First, lift the car or get it onto ramps or jack stands. Remove the skid plates. It's just a bunch of bolts. It's easy but tedious. Pro tip, some of the bolts look like they hold the skid plate up, but they actually don't, and you can skip them. So how you can tell is just push on the bolt, and if it flexes and moves at all, then it's probably one that you don't need to remove. You'll now have access to your downpipe. If you recently drove your car, you will probably need to let it cool off first. My car sat overnight, so all the parts were cold. That's what I would recommend that you do. On the top side, you'll need to remove the plastic engine cover just by lifting it upwards. You'll need to remove the foam out of the way at the back of the engine bay to expose the two O2 sensor connectors at the back left. Undo both connectors. They easily pull out of the plate that holds them in with spring force. Pull the connectors apart by pushing in this little button until you hear a nice sharp click, and then gently pull them apart. If they don't pull apart easily, then you probably need to push the button harder first. You'll need to get the cable out of the spring clips to hold them into place. These are there to keep the cables from moving around and touching hot engine parts or exhaust parts. I was able to reach one from the top, and then I had to go underneath the car to get to the other one and do that one completely by feel, but that's the same type of clip. Seeing this picture should help you visualize what you're doing when you're reaching your hand down there to get the cable out of the clips. Once you free the cables from the clips, you're done up top. This is a picture of my new downpipe installed, but it's the best picture I have of the bolts that you need to remove, so remove these bolts. They're all fairly easy to get to. Once those are undone, you need to undo the back Vband clamp. If you're lucky like me, the nut's easily accessible. If the last person was a jerk, they might have positioned it stupidly to where it's impossible to get to it with a socket and ratchet, and you might need to use a wrench instead. Once the nut is out, it's most likely seized together. I used a punch and hammer to tap the other side, and then after tapping a little bit, the sides of the clamp, popped apart. There is a little retainer on the nut side that might fly out, so make sure you set it aside so you don't lose it. With moderate force, it's not easy. You should be able to move the clamp back towards the flex pipe, so then it's, it's hanging on the pipe, but it's, out of your way. Now we need to undo the top nut for the V-band closer to the turbo. This is also easy for me to get to, so hopefully yours is as well. Same deal with getting it apart if it's seized. Some people recommend using some kind of penetrating oil, but I typically don't like to use any kind of chemicals on exhaust parts because they get hot and then you get smoke and fumes, and I'd rather just use force with like a punch and a hammer. Oh, and if you don't have a punch, just use a sacrificial flathead screwdriver. I'm sure everyone's got a crappy set of screwdrivers they can use for prying and hammering. Be careful when undoing this one because it should at this point be the only thing holding your downpipe in place. Once it's free, ease the downpipe out of the car. Put the downpipes in the identical orientation on the ground and then move the O2 sensors over one by one. This is ensure that you put the right one in the right spots because it does matter. I put a little bit of high heat anti-seize on the threads to ensure they don't get cooked into place to save myself a headache in the future because O2 sensors are things that do go out. You never know when you might need to replace them in the future. Now you just install the new one in the reverse order. I position a downpipe nearly into position and then I cable tied the bottom to ensure it doesn't fall out. This will make life easier, trust me. Get the top V-band perfectly centered over the gap between the turbo's exhaust housing and the downpipe and get it clamped back down. Then do the bottom V-band next. Then undo the cable tie and put the mounting bracket parts back into place. I highly recommend that whenever you're doing anything on a car, take pictures with your smartphone at every step because when you go to reassemble, you think it'd be easy to remember, but sometimes you will really wish that you had pictures to reference. So definitely take a lot of pictures as you do stuff like this. And that was one of the things that I actually took pictures of, and I'm glad I did because when I went to reassemble it, I needed a quick reference to see, what the orientation of the bracket and the bolts and parts were. So the physical installation is complete. So now you just need to route the O2 sensor cables back up to the top. I did this from the bottom. You'll need to get both cables into the original clips that hold them into place. And obviously you can use this picture as a reference because it's really hard to see. It's really directly in the middle, about equal distance from the engine bay or from underneath. You definitely don't want to just skip this step because then you risk the cable moving while you're driving and then touching, you know, your downpipe or exhaust and then melting, and then you're gonna have all kinds of engine code errors from your O2 sensors not getting good readings. Once you get them through the clips, then you need to go up top and then pull the sensors the connectors for the sensors all the way back up into the engine bay. They're color coded, so it should be easy to know which is which. 2 of them are just plain black, and then 2 of them have blue accent colors on them. Snap them back together and then snap them back into those little spring steel retaining clip things, and then replace the foam and then the plastic engine cover, and then you're done. Make sure you get all the tools you might have left around your engine bay, and you're pretty much good to go. Oh yeah, obviously you gotta reattach your skid plates too, but that's pretty easy. One thing though, what I usually do before reattaching skid plates, just because it's such a pain in the butt because of all the different screws you have to remove it, I like to start the car. Obviously, if you have an exhaust leak, it's immediately obvious, so just turn it over, let it idle for a couple seconds, make sure it doesn't have a leak, maybe even give it a quick little rev, and then once you confirm there's no exhaust leak, then you can shut it off and then screw your skid plates back into place. Because if you do have an exhaust leak, that could save you a few minutes. Obviously at this point you need to tune your car for stage 2, because most engines with turbos want a tune once you do a downpipe. So you could probably get away with it, but I would definitely tune it. Why not? That's the whole point of getting the downpipe, right? Well, enjoy the extra power, exhaust sounds, turbo sounds, and DIY skill points. Hopefully this was helpful. Don't hesitate to ask me if you have any questions at all. Good luck.